Well, hello, my darling Miss Coco Peru. It's one of your Cocoa Puffs, coming to you from San Diego, California. So I need to speak to Miss Coco Peru, so the rest of you can go find a panettone, do some gardening. Miss Coco Peru. I have to be honest, when I first found you, it was Girls Will Be Girls. I had no idea that you were a drag performer of iconic status at the time. I knew you were something special because within the first 5 minutes of Girls Will Be Girls, I fell in love with you. I fell in love with that character. Earth-shattering scream that you deliver when the picture frame falls off the wall and you just lose it. That was so much how I felt at that time in my life. Had my first child, moved back to my hometown from California. I felt that in the very depths of my being. Then for some unbeknownst reason, well, it is known, my life took a very drastic turn here, there, and everywhere, as it does when you're a parent. I only saw you in Girls Will Be Girls, and I dropped the ball. I have recently refound drag and rediscovered how much I love it, and in so doing, rediscovered you again for the first time. I've deep dove into your interviews, conversations with Coco. I rewatched To Wong Fu and Girls Will Be Girls, the quarantine series, the little things that end up being the big things. It has been such a treat and so comforting and such a lovely, lovely way to spend my free time, basically. And I have to say, in To Wong Fu, they were smart to have started the movie with you on a, we're supposed to be kind of a villain apparently, but you did it so well. You're entirely capable of being a villain. It's smart to have you in the first opening part, but they were not so smart to have you only in, 2 scenes? Found myself, while I was watching, thinking about all the drag roles that have been throughout history and how I really want an actual drag story. The gritty parts, the heart-wrenching parts, the tough parts, the hustle, promote, as well as the glam and the camp. Not just the glam and the camp. You ask me. I think I would like to write it with your help, and I think we should produce it. I think there's a real market for it now, and I think people deserve to see the real deal about drag. And I don't know anybody else that would be perfect for that. So have your people call my people, and by my people, I mean my email. I've said this aloud to myself in the mirror several times, which is where I have most of the best conversations that I have, is to myself in the mirror. The best queens are those that you can just sit and watch doing any number of mundane tasks and be thoroughly entertained. You are one of the greats just on that alone. Watching you play Grand Theft Auto, making a cup of tea with 1,000 inane steps, seeing you confront just a shelf, just a bevy of abandoned aerials in a thrift store. All of those things, I am just as riveted watching you do those things as I am watching you interview Jane Fonda or absolutely kill a comedic scene. I think that says a lot about your character, your personality, and who you are as an individual. You take everything seriously. I've taken to muttering, that bothers me. And I'll just slip into I always thought it was a Long Island accent, but it's the Bronx as well. I think it's just kind of the boroughs and the outlying New York areas. But anyway, I just slip into the accent and I'll just mutter to myself if I see trash on the side of the road or any number of things that I know we share mutually that it really bothers us. I'll just kind of slip into the accent and chuckle to myself and feel like I have a friend with me, even though we've never met. I feel like I know you. Everything that is around you, you have the utmost respect. Whoever it is or whatever the situation is, you always start at respectful. Then sometimes chagrined queen comes out. They're just beautiful to watch. It's like this coin that gets flipped. Society will flip a coin, and depending on the situation, you get happy Coco and you get chagrined Coco, but either one is just glorious. None of the progress that drag has seen in the recent years would have been possible without you. There's so many people that have no idea the pioneer that you had been way back when, or the pioneer that you still are. You're still doing your own special brand of drag. You're still producing things on your own. You're still writing, touring shows. I know you want to retire. I pray to the patron saints of drag that I am able to see you on stage before you do, but I'm excited for you to retire because you've done a lot. You continue to do a lot. it does my heart good to see the success that you do have, but you deserve so much more because of the kind of drag queen that you are. I've never seen you perform on stage, like I said, but from what I've heard, from what I understand, I don't know anybody that doesn't absolutely love your show when they go see it. And that's a big part of why I love you so much, is that if you hadn't found freedom through this diverse, dynamic art and expressed your own dynamic style into it, hustled and promoted and spray painted the sidewalk with Miss Coco She Knows, which that is just brilliant marketing, by the way. I mean, gone are the days, but that's if you hadn't overcome the fears that were plaguing you around that time, none of the modern drag would be possible. You were yourself and you were simple. You had heart. That always resonates, whether you're a man in drag, whether you're a woman in drag, whether you're a queer person, a straight person, it doesn't matter. That's the unifying, relatable aspect that has always been there and remains to be there, and that is so rare nowadays. I can't tell you how good it feels to witness a performer, not a celebrity, not a reality personality, a real performer. An activist still, from the AIDS epidemic to the COVID pandemic. You used your talents to alleviate whatever suffering there is or was. You know exactly how to poke fun, but also tug at heartstrings. You know how to and convey so much frustration. It takes all of 2 seconds for you to completely encapsulate the frustration of a nation. That is talent. And the end result of all of that wonderful mastery is that all of our fears, all of our worries, all of our concerns, all of the negative, you keep that at bay for 5 minutes or 7 minutes or 10 minutes, and you give us a break. That's invaluable. The Little Things series, as I mentioned before, I didn't see in quarantine. I wasn't there yet. I was going through a beauty influencer phase during that time. I could have been watching you. But it's okay because I found you now. It was like I was going through quarantine with you. I couldn't stop. I watched one and then I had to watch the next and I had to watch the next and I had to watch the next. With each one, I felt like I got to know you more. You, Clinton Leupp, not Coco. They feed each other. They're two sides of the coin, like I was saying. It's like I got to connect dots and understand why you're the performer that you are, but also I got to peek behind the curtain and really understand you as a person. That much more. And in that spirit, I want to share something. When I was younger, I had a dog named Furman, and he was my absolute best friend. My parents separated when I was 5, and he was my touchstone. A lot of my afternoons were spent laying on Furman's tummy, watching the world go by from my grandma's front window where we moved when my parents split. Just as cute as he could be, collie German Shepherd mix, a wonderful mix. In first grade, when I was 7, we had a young authors contest at my school. I wrote a story called My Friend Furman. See, that's me. That's Furman. So I won first place. Not bad, right? First page it says, we have 2 vacuum cleaners. One is electric and one is my dog Furman. You can see the little picture. There he is. We dropped a lot of food, apparently, just whole meals on the floor so he could clean it up. This always makes me smile because writing has always been one of my favorite things to do, one of my feeling powerful things. That at a young age, I knew who my friends were. I capitalized on that and I gained notoriety for it. You are the fabulous gay aunt and uncle in one that I always needed. The way that you drop recipes at will, love a cup of tea. You would love to shoot the shit, but talk about deeper issues, not just fun, frivolous gossip type of things. Love the world, you love humanity, but at the same time, they bother you. And you're not afraid to call it out, but you're not afraid to call yourself out either. Every time I watch your content, it's like I get to have that little fantasy. It's amazing. I love that you manifested your dreams and your goals forthright and you knew you were going to do it, but it was so organic as well. I love that the universe always sets us up that way. You got to say this is going to happen, but let it go. Just see where life takes you. And before you know it, you've reached the goals that you have for yourself. You decreed that you were going to be friends with Liza Minnelli. You were going to be friends with B. Arthur. You were going to be friends with Lily Tomlin. And it all came to pass. That is manifestation at its finest. The thought of being in B. Arthur's presence and actually being a friend of hers is just, it must have been such a heartwarming thing for you. And this is just kind of a personal note because I have a similar experience. Talked about your older sister passing away from bone cancer when you were 3, I believe you said. Talking about that well of grief that you never realized was in there, that invisible well of grief that you had to release in order to let go and in order to move in a more positive direction. I so relate. My grandpa, my mother's father, passed away when she was 8 months pregnant with me. I think I absorbed a lot of it. Throughout my life, there's just a deep well of melancholy and sadness that it always used to make me feel like a freak of nature because that was there. With every emotion, I will shed a tear. And I've been called emo before. The kids are calling it. And I'm pretty sure it's because in utero, I absorbed a lot of the sadness that my mom must have felt in that time. And I think it was the same for you. Even though you were 3 when your sister transitioned, you must have absorbed a lot of what your mom was going through when they may have diagnosed her, or there may have been inklings that she wasn't well. Whatever's going on with the mother, the baby will absorb that. Having 3 children of my own, I can attest to that. But I think that that's also one of the wonderful things, is that you got to carry on in her artistic spirit, in the loving makeup, beautiful hair, and beautiful things, and expression, artistic expression, and your pioneering spirit, moving forward and never letting that stop you, and never dwelling in a space of sadness or anger about anything that's sad or angry. I resonate with that. I understand that. For what it's worth, I totally see you on that. You have the best deadpan, you have the best thinly veiled disgust expression, and the way you speak, like I mentioned, is so comforting. It's like you're a mashup of Barbara Streisand and of B. Arthur. You took a little bit from here and a little bit from there because they influenced you, obviously, yet you made it all your own. It was a bit of a shout out, but it was also in your own direction. Comedic chops, the depth and the intellect, but yet flagrant dick joke that you will make. It's just magical. When I watch you perform, I feel like I'm in a theater, maybe a vaudeville performance or a burlesque performance, larger than life. And at the same time, it's like an indie film. Clear, interesting way of expressing all of it. Thank you for that. Thank you for being you, for fighting the good fight, questing for more and for better, and for having 311 on speed dial. Saint, sinner, celestial, tension tamer. I truly appreciate and celebrate all of the joy that you have inspired in your illustrious career that has spanned quite a few decades. Not to make you feel old, that's not what I'm trying to do. Even if other iconic, pioneering queens get more credit than you do, maybe, or more spotlight, just know that all of your fans, that you help us feel seen as we see you, you are the grande dame. The real ones know. To keep your artistic integrity, sometimes you have to stay away from the mainstream. Even though there's so much more to you than just drag, you are a shining, glittering example of how to do it really, really well. Thank you for being a pretend best friend when I really need it. Your love of animals, your gentle soul, kind of shyness, inadequate anxiety feelings that I see flitter across your face sometimes, but then you just relax into it and you stay present. And when you're performing, you can't see any of that. All you see is a bold, confident, beautiful woman that expresses herself through humor, through honesty, and through painting a picture with words. It's one of my favorite things. Your quick wit, your kind-hearted jabs, your shade, your singing, and your stage bravado, all of it. For the record, as I watched Girls Will Be Girls last time, I realized that you're just one of my all-time favorite performers, hands down. That time in my life when I saw Girls Will Be Girls for the first time, how helpful it was, how helpful you are still. You're definitely one of the people that I eagerly anticipate meeting someday. See you in person and look in your beautiful, sparkly, glittery, mischievous, twinkly eyes that you have. Those eyes, Coco. Give you a hug and bounce back all the love and humor and good nature that you showered all over your fans for so long. Promise I will try not to ramble too much, but even so, you can reach over and touch me on the arm and say, honey, the fuck are you talking about? Just like B. Arthur, remember? Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories you tell. So from the bottom of my heart, Miss Coco Peru, keep doing what you're doing. I know someday you're going to retire, but until then, I am so thankful for the work that you still churn out. Such humor, effortless humor. Thank you for working so hard when you don't really have to. You could phone it in if you wanted to and still be fabulous, but your integrity is always in the right place. And I really appreciate that, and it's inspiring. And if I'm ever in Van Nuys, I think we should go find a Big Lots or a Marshall's or a Ross cross-dress for less. Get a cup of coffee, go look for some bargains. I would love to see your garden and all your beautiful flowers. I think that would be great.